Let's go ahead and switch up gears a little bit. This exercise is going to be about working with shapes. Earlier, we worked with just drawing out a very basic shape, which was just a rectangle. Now we're going to learn about different kinds of shapes, how to manipulate shapes, and even working with some of these custom shapes like animals and different all kinds of icons and things like that. And of course, working with all kinds of different layers here. So let's just start off creating a new document. Then I'm going to go over to my saved. And I'm going to go to my landscape, but this time I'm going to change that. So you can see how saving our presets can really be very helpful for us. I click on that, and bam, I'm ready to go to then draw out my shapes. Now we've already seen that we can draw out shapes very quickly and easily. We've also seen how we can have a background also quickly and easily. So I would like to use my layer adjustment to then just have a nice colored background. So I'm going to go over here to my solid color underneath my adjustment layer, my little black and white cookie there. I'm just going to have that as my background. Okay, and I'll just do like this nice, soft, little blue color. That's great. And now that is not necessarily a shape, it's just a color fill. And if I wanted to change this, I can very easily double click on this. Okay, and I can go and make that a little bit darker, right? Or change my brightness on there. Okay, that's great. But now let's see what we can do to create different types of elements. Like this frame, for example. How do I create a frame like that? Many times you will be creating like newsletters, you'll be creating posters, and you'll want to have things like that, right? That's going to really encapsulate your content. So that is going to be a combination of a fill and stroke setting. Right. So far, we've already talked about strokes, how it's like an outline of something. And we've also talked a little bit about how we had our fill for our rectangle in the last exercise. In this case, we want to draw out something that has no fill, but has a certain stroke and a certain stroke value. So let's go ahead and just choose my rectangle. And I'm going to choose my color of my rectangle. I'm just going to make that maybe gray. Of course, I can change, let's not worry about that too much. And you will notice up on top, in addition to my fill, I now have something that says stroke right there. It's like, oops, what did I do? I just changed the fill color. That actually doesn't make any sense. I was so used to that. It's like, oh, wait a second. I actually don't want a fill color. What do I do? How do I deal with that? Because I actually do want a stroke color, and I also want to adjust the stroke value, right, which is going to be, that's going to be my width of my outline. So let's say I don't want a fill color. I'm going to click on my fill box right there, and I'm going to choose this little slash to say no fill color. I'm going to come over to here, come to my little color picker, and then choose whatever color I want for that outline. Okay, so again, I'll come back to my grayish blue. I click OK. And I'm not quite ready to draw out yet because I'd like to have a certain thickness. And again, I can change this. I'm just going to make that, let's say, exactly 15. Now I'm ready to draw. So click and drag. Click away. Go back to my move tool. Not too bad. I click back on it. And now, how do I change the thickness? Uh-oh. Photoshop doesn't really give me that option at this point. But what it does do is give me the option in my properties panel. We're going to go a little bit deeper into the properties panel and where it says appearance and all these other options here. This is going to be invaluable for you for so many different things. This is a relatively new thing in Photoshop, working with the properties panel. So let's go ahead and check out what our options are. I'm just going to drag this over here, bring this down, and let's just see what we can do now. I can now make this a lot thicker if I want to. That's pretty neat. And of course, making sure this is selected. Let's just make this exactly 20 if I'd like to. Let's change that to 20. Great, slight little adjustment there. And you'll also see I have a few other things I can do. So I can make it dashed if I wanted to. But I'm going to bring that back to solid. And there we have it. Cool. Love that. It's exactly what I want it to be. You'll also notice a few other options here. namely my corner radius. Corner radius. What is a corner radius? Well, I'm going to move my mouse over this, and remember, look for that little finger with the double little arrows there. Click and drag that all the way to, let's say, 30. And now, ooh, that's kind of neat. I get this little rounded corner set of options there. Okay. You'll also see that there's a little link icon here, because sometimes you only want one part to be linked up to the others and not the other parts to be linked. So in other words, you want them to be isolated. Right now, if I uncheck that and I make just the bottom ones go to 0, 0 is the other way. Okay, you can see, cool. Only the top part has the little rounded corner radius, and then this one has 0 pixel corner radius. So you have a lot of options to work with. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and bring that all back so they are, let's just say 25. All right, and these guys are all going back on their own. Okay, 25. Let's unlock these. Just adding on 25 for all of them. Okay, great. And you can see, bam, there we are. And let's keep those in sync with each other. Great. So what we've done here is we've seen that we can create a shape that has no fill, and we're also able to change the color of the stroke and the thickness of the stroke, as well as working with corner radius, right? Just like that. Wonderful. Now let's go a little bit deeper with our shapes. Well, we'll start working with custom shapes and also different other shapes. So if you look back at my original one, I just have these basic shape of circles. So let me go ahead and just draw out a circle. And I'm going to draw out a perfect circle in this case, right? How do I draw out a perfect circle? Very simply, we're going to hold down the Shift key as I do it. So before you start drawing, it's always a good idea to just take a look at what you're actually going to be drawing at. I don't want a stroke. I want to fill. So I have to go back here and say, no stroke. Making sure nothing is selected. Okay, you just saw me. I still had something selected because it's going to override what you have selected. So no stroke. And then I'm just going to choose this nice little color there. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key as I click and drag. And then you will see I get a perfect circle. That's exactly that color. Go back to my Move tool, click and drag wherever you want it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this. I love the size of this. I love the shape of it, everything. I'm going to clone it. If you recall, cloning is what? Alt and clicking, right? So if I hold down the Alt key, and I click and drag, Alt, click and drag. Okay, wonderful. Now I can very easily change the color of these using my appearance panel. So I'm just going to choose any color that's available here. Let's not worry too much on that. Click on that. Notice that pops up, and I'll choose this one. Okay, great. Now my issue compared to these is that notice how these little circles are beneath my little front border here. So how do I deal with that? To save me some time, I'm just going to move my rectangle all the way up to the top. Remember about layer management. So just drag that to the top because that's exactly what I want. I want this little border to be above everything else. Okay, it's as easy as that. All right, so just move this around however you want it, get a little more kind of visual interest, get a little more interesting. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and let you practice that, and we'll come back